Water is life. Water is essential. But water can be very dangerous if it is not properly controlled or channeled. And one way water can show up dangerous is flooding. Now, what exactly is flooding? Flooding is simply a situation where water overflows into a land that is normally dry. That definition seems simple, but flooding is not simple. Like I said, it is dangerous, and it happens in Nigeria all the time, almost every year. Have you ever sat back to think of the effect, the aftermath of flooding on families, what you go through? Now, be with me, think with me for a sec. One day you have a house, the next day you're homeless. It is negatively far-reaching for so many families. Today on the show, our focus is on the aftermath, the effect of flooding on families. To unbundle our show and to enrich it, we have experts coming, and we have you. I mean you. Thank you so much for always keeping our company on Weekend Deal. We appreciate you. We appreciate you joining the conversation. Let's do it again today. It is your favorite weekend show, Weekend Deal, coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patience Eloy Abba, and of course I'm not alone. I'm with the delectable, beautiful Thelma. Hey, good morning, Thelma.
Hey, babe, how you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Always a super experience to be riding this rodeo together. Because I call it a rodeo because I know rodeo refers to horses and bulls and the like, but I call it a rodeo because sometimes it could be highfalutin, sometimes we're having undulating plains, but whichever way we're going, well, let's doing it together. And because we're working together, we can be sure that we'll have a safe landing. You know that the way life is now is like it's about the survival for the fittest. And you think you're doing your best, you stand out every day, you push out, you bring out all the expertise you got, you build your team. All of a sudden life knocks you down. Try to stand up again, it knocks you down again. And it's most impactful, negatively or otherwise, when you don't see where the knockdown is coming from. You may not even know how intense it may be. And that's how natural disasters unravel onto human beings. Our lives and property are impacted. Yes, we do know that our children's education is also being disrupted. People are losing resources. People are losing hope. We understand about the trauma. We know about the homelessness. We wonder about your business as well. That is why we won't focus on rumors. We'll bring it to the center table here on Weekend Deal and say, what has been done? What is being done? What are the far-reaching and result-oriented plans that everyone's got for you? Let me tell you something. You're not alone. The federal government has got you. The state government's got you. We on Weekend we got you, and that's why we'll be going nationwide to find out how they are coping and what's the best way forward. It's all about flooding in our great country, Nigeria, and we can bring a change and we can start to continue and focus on what's been done and bring a better result for the future. My name is Thelma Obaza. Welcome. We're talking about the aftermath of flooding in Nigeria. It has gravely impacted families and oftentimes in not so positive a way. Today on Weekend Deal, please weigh in, join us. We'll be looking at several areas where Nigerians are affected. Some are still in trauma. It's affecting education, and some have been rendered homeless. As Francis tackles this with Akugbe Yamo, an author and environmentalist. He opens our conversation today on Weekend Deal and sets the tone for our discourse. Francis, please continue from here.
Flooding is a national security because it affects food security, it brings out hunger. It affects health security, causes disease, communicable diseases. It affects water security because the fresh water will be poisoned. It affects health security because it's going to bring this carbon monoxide poisonous and take it to the river. On the whole, it's a national security. Take, for example, the life of the children. When it happened, the children, they become absenteeism because most of the time it destroys the entire education sector. So at that point in time, school is not going on. And if their schools are now used as IDP camps, that means their education is already disrupted. What of we are being told that, look, 2 million children, they are going to face acute hunger this year. The National Disease Control told us that 600 children died out of cholera. You saw the case of Bayelsa, when grapes and all were being uprooted from the ground. That is another source of disease. And when it happens like that, what does it do? It brings out all the disease agents and all. And you see yourself, you are going to be inundated with diseases. And most of the time, it depends on the sediments that come. Agriculture is being impeded. You cannot till the land that the flooding has washed out the sand on the surface.
So the issue is not inside the trade money longer.
When flooding comes, it takes almost a year, 12 calendar months to tell you that I'm coming. You have to prepare very well for it. In case, you know, the people in the vulnerable area, in case it happens here, this is where we'll move you to. If you move them there, you must have communication, because when there is flooding, communication breaks down. The normal communication, telephone and all, it's likely not going to work. Most of the time there's flooding, the whole of their entire livelihood is washed away. Agriculture is disseminated, pasture is decimated, livestock is decimated. What arrangement have you made for them to be fed there? What keeps people in flooding is not the flood itself, it's ignorance. It's ignorance. No, it will not reach here. Most of the people that died, the 603 people that died in 2022, were all killed by ignorance. They waited a minute longer than the emergency, the safety gap of the emergency can allow. Technology is available. Families should be brought to the level of awareness, because here you might think it didn't happen next year. You don't know what the other man across is doing to the movement of water. Water must find its own path. If you don't give it a path, it creates its own path. And its own path might be your own environment. Families don't dump refuse anywhere. See, go to Kigali. It's the cleanest city in Africa. A child that is coming from school, if he sees a paper on the ground, he picks it. We should get to that value.
Weekend Deal today is captioned Aftermath of Flooding on Families. Weekend Deal.
Okay, welcome back. It is Weekend Deal, your favorite weekend show on TV. And it's time for our conversation proper to start. Our guests are here and we'll meet them shortly. The first guest that I have the honor of introducing is Air Commodore Kennedy Matalua. He is a Director, Research and Rescue, NEMA. Let's see his profile. You're welcome to Weekend Deal, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you weighing on our discussion about flooding today. And we have another guest here. We'll introduce him in just a minute. Let's meet, greet, and make welcome Dr. Midala Usman Balami, Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Communications. His profile is next.
Doctor, you're welcome to the Weekend Deal Studios.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Patience.
Okay. Let's get this conversation started. And I'll start with Dr. being the last one to introduce. Sir, flooding in Nigeria every year. Every year of flooding. How would you react to this?
Thank you, Patience. I think, good morning, Nigerians. I think it's something of great concern. And for us as Nigerians, is a situation that is very sympathetic, and as a Nigerian and a very patriotic one, I think it's high time we begin to align and begin to think of our level of preparedness, most especially for disaster and for disaster that have been occurring almost every time. We think to strengthen the level of prevention and mitigating measures. We have to look at the way things are done in the past. We have to ensure that our infrastructures are well developed, ensure that proper drainages, ensure also that we respond to early warning systems. Some of our systems are really working, but where we need to have, we used to have a little bit of slack has to do with our level of preparedness and how we are able to put mitigating measures to be able to prevent some of this devastating occurrence, most especially of the flood. I think it's high time we begin beyond words. Yeah. It's time for action, and this action requires every hand to be on deck. Government should wake up to be really prepared to be able to prevent and strengthen mitigating measures, and the citizens should also work towards what is expected of them to be able to prevent and mitigate. I don't want us to be responding. What can we do differently so that we don't just find ourselves all the time responding? We should be able, since we are aware of some of these disasters, we should be able to strengthen all that is required to prevent it from happening. If we cannot prevent it completely, then we must have mitigating measures so that it limits the effect of destructions on lives and properties.
So it's less devastating, and devastation is the center issue, because people are homeless, education for our children is disrupted, lives and property are lost year in, year out. But we do know that NEMA has been unrelenting, while we also acknowledge that NIMET gives us adequate information on time. So were we to decide to put those proactive measures in place, perhaps we won't be always reacting. We'll be talking more about proactiveness. But Air Commodore, please weigh in and give us more information about this. Why does it seem as though we are always on the receiving end, and the impact on lives and property is always devastating?
On the side of NEMA, I would say that from the beginning of the year, when NIMET gave the warning, and NISA gave us their flood, annual flood outlook, we actually went to state to downscale what really is going to happen at states, so that they will also downscale to local government. That's the same as state emergency management agencies. We downscale to local government as well as to the local community. so that they will be aware that at certain period we may have flood, and once you start seeing the level of water going up, you're supposed to move to higher grounds. Yes, we've done that between June and July. We did that. Okay. We went around the 36 states to actually educate them.
But we're looking at the reactive measure. If NIMET tells us there will be flooding in certain parts of Nigeria, what are they expecting? NEMA, House Representatives, all those, what do they expect them to do? Do they expect them to go do it as they did it last year by telling people do this, do that? Are not expecting us to plan to prevent such a recurrence?
Yeah, I think the government actually last year set up a committee to really look at to look at how we are going to have a lasting solution to this incessant flood problem that we'll be having. And the committee, I know they have submitted their report. They have come up with the short, medium, and long-term plan. Usually the medium plan may not immediately address the key issues that we're looking at. It's from the medium and the long term, and I know some of the key issues has to do with really desilting these rivers, because as long as we do not desil the dams and the rivers, we'll keep having problem of this flood. Okay. Because once the water filled up the dams or the rivers, it has to get somewhere to go to, and that's why we'll be having this problem.
Okay, I mean, that's when you talk about one of the issues is the silting the dams, and we know that if flood is going, next year there'll be rains. Like what happened in Meduguri, the dam that gave way. Yes. I read that it has collapsed 3 times. 3 times since 1994. That's what it said. So if we know this, we must be proactive. But what are your thoughts? We would allow NTA Yola to join the conversation, and they are looking at the effect of flooding on children and education.
Floods bring displacement, destructions of lives and properties. But for children, one of the most devastating impacts is loss of learning. It destroys schools and disrupts learning, leaving the students with no safe place to learn.
During the flood, we are transferring our students to one primary school nearby, which is Majalisa Primary School. They are using period from 7 to 12. Then we, Limawa, we are take off from 12 to 5:30 to teach our students during that flood problems.
As a result of this catastrophe, the children are displaced from their homes and schools, creating a wide gap in access to education due to missed classes.
This holiday that they added for us, they will be rushing us at school. Had it been that they did not give us the holiday, we will be going through our classes gradually. But now they will be rushing us so that we should finish the syllabus that they have been giving to them, our teachers.
The impact goes beyond the immediate dangers of the disaster. There are long-term consequences on children's future on education.
When you talk about flooding in Adamawa State, unfortunately, it is an experience that people have been enduring over time. It's not something that is new, especially with the release of Lake Jordan, which happened almost every year. However, the recent flood and the recent experience is something that people have not seen actually, maybe in a long time or never before. And the impact is so severe that it affects education learning, it affects farms, and it affects families.
Amidst the chaotic situations, the government and others are making efforts to resolve education in the affected areas.
The governor is a caring governor. He took a proactive action where he extended the resumption of school for 2 weeks. He now provides temporary learning space in case of flooding in the schools, where he built temporary learning space in a safer communities, so that if there is flooding in our school, we now advocate our pupils without safer learning space to take their classes there. I met with the SBC officials of each schools. We sat down with them, we had a meeting with them to see if there is flood in our schools, how we're going to take care of our children.
While parents ensure the safety of their children with the effort and assistance of local authorities, temporary learning centers and e-learning platforms are provided to ensure continuous learning.
And we have arranged for extra lessons. That's before closing hours. They will not have a free time. They will only give them free time for only few minutes. Then later they will come back to the classes. We'll double it. They will double. The teacher are ready to double their efforts at least for the week. They would like to take 2 weeks instead of 1 week courses. They will take it in 3-4 days. Then they will enter another week, so that at least they will be able to cover up those weeks that they have mixed.
So some parents do come here and get some textbooks for the purpose in order to get lesson teacher for them for this little period, so that they can be able to teach them some things before we resume.
The impact of floods on education is devastating, but with collective efforts, we can mitigate the effect and ensure learning continues, because our children's future depends on it.
Adamawa State fall within the high risk, and out of it we had about 18 local government, as you said. We ensure that safer grounds, that is higher grounds, have been identified, and the essence of identifying these higher grounds is to ensure that in case the water comes, where would the people go? And then we ensure that these areas fall within the communities. And you know, most of the higher grounds or facilities around these communities are schools.
It's quite interesting to get to know a lot of what's happening in Adamawa State, as NTA Yola has showcased for us on Weekend Deal today. You know, our children's education is very important, and all we can do to ensure that we make it comfortable for them to learn is what we should do. And that's why this talk about flooding and mitigating it is very crucial at this time. We had our schools now going shifts. Some schools will host those displaced students, give them their building for some hours in the evening. Thankfully, they are doing that. Dr. Midala, you heard that, you know, and it's quite touching, and it's impacting everyone in the nation. And it brings to mind the question that this Alao Dam, this is not the first time something like this is occurring, where 400,000 people this time are being displaced, with over 30 people losing their lives. Like what Patience shared earlier, it first happened in 1994. It didn't actually burst, there was an overflow. But shouldn't that have been a warning that would get everybody on high alert? And now we're talking about it 28 years later?
I want to really agree with you. I just want to say that first of all, I want to say that Borno State have been coping with a lot. In the past 1 decade and many years, we've been coping with the issues of Boko Haram and the terrorists and many other things. So you will agree with me that the state have been into very difficult situation, and mentally we are actually also distressed. Most of the citizens haven't worked as a humanitarian, haven't worked alongside the executive governor of Borno State. I know that a lot of effort have been done in order to provide relief material and also to respond to the need of the people in Maiduguri. It's a very difficult situation. I want to call on everyone to have that level of empathy for everyone, the victims, the survivors, and the government of the state. Having said this, I want to also establish that the level and the culture of putting mitigating measures, most especially in Nigeria, for infrastructures and for responding to such kind of disaster have not been so very well. And sometimes you see that government have taken proactive measures, because if you have followed very well, you discover that the government have constituted a committee that have gone to see the dam even before the occurrence of this flood. But what it seems so confusing to me is maybe the level of expertise of those committees that have gone to see the dam. And if they have seen the dam, the level of action that were taken to be able to even evacuate people that are staying along the waterways and all of that. And also, you will also agree with me that the attitude of our people, that even when warned by government, do not stay along the waterways, have been very difficult to cope with.
Okay, so that's where I was even going to come in, because our focus on this show is the aftermath effect on families.
Yes.
Now, when these warnings are sent out, Cameroon has sent out a warning, and a lot has been sent out to many states. And what are these families supposed to do? You mentioned something about families moving to higher lands. Yeah. Do they have what it takes? Or is there any kind of support for these families to relocate to safer places? Or they are left to their own devices? Move, we have warned you. If you like, stay with your family. If you like, move. What happens to these alerts? Are those the alerts to be? Please tell us about that.
You know, after we downscale the information about the flood, usually the state government actually take measures to prepare certain areas that they feel that will be comfortable, and also prepare to provide the necessary things that the family, when they relocate, they will need.
Oh.
Yes,
those things are provided?
Yes, they usually put measures in place to provide that as soon as that
alert goes out.
Yeah, it goes out as soon as the flood starts and all that. So measures.
Okay, but ought we to wait until the flood starts?
No, usually you don't wait until the flood starts. You provide the things, but keep them, because you don't distribute them. You don't know whether
they say move. Yes. Where are they to move to? Is there an available place for them to move?
Usually, like you heard from Yola office, usually we identify schools, and sometimes we provide certain camps.
IDP camps?
Yes, certain camps, and we also have our own tents. NEMA have tents.
Okay.
Yes, that we usually deploy to when it becomes necessary. But there's something that you asked about school. Let me just talk about it here. You know, I served in Bayelsa State. I was in Yenagoa, especially during the 2022 flood. And there was something I noticed that the Bayelsa State government did, that I felt that probably states that are being affected by flood should also look at that.
Okay.
During the long vacation, students continue their first time in Bayelsa in preparation for flood. And by the time the flood started, then they went for their long vacation. Yes. And by the time the flood was receding, they just came back, wrote their first time exam.
So they should build the curriculum around the expected natural disaster.
Before we will really address the issue fully, probably states located around all these flood-prone areas should really look into that and see, can we build our system to look at what the Bayelsa State government have done.
We're going right now to Borno State, and we're talking about them. It happens that Doctor is here from there. So, Doctor, we're going to your state now, and we're taking a very critical and a close look at how they are rebuilding their lives. We've heard it from you, but let's hear those from those who are on ground and how they are looking ahead to this very bright future that we're talking about here. Borno, please take it from here.
The flooding in Maiduguri, one of the worst the city has ever experienced, has left its residents struggling to rebuild their lives, despite early warnings that many Nigerian states will face floods in 2024. No one expected Maiduguri to bear the brunt of the disaster. Contributing factors included infrastructure challenges, such as the collapse of the Alo Dam.
Flooding is a baby of climate change. And anytime there's a flooding, it's just an evidence of climate change is real. One. Two is also effect and impact of climate change, flooding.
The devastation affected all aspects of life. Businesses came to a halt. Transportation was crippled and families were displaced, seeking refuge in IDP camps and makeshift shelters.
It has come and gone. So it has displaced most of the communities. We have to get some repairs before coming back to the houses, because there are some damages. Some of the houses have cracks, some of the houses have been damaged, so we have to come and make some repairs before coming in.
An individual effort cannot able to remove that water, so we resort into using that water pump machine used by the used for irrigation to move out the water, and most of the people in my area use that water pump to remove the water. And because of the constant need of the water pump, it has even become very, very scarce. If you even wanted to use it, you have to book it before your turn come. You will wait for 2 to 3 days before your turn will come. We are making some renovation because after mass of the water, most of our soakaways is no more in proper shape. Some of the floor of the houses are also not in proper shapes, so we have to make some little renovation before we'll finally move in.
Most of our people here were affected, and we, the community leaders here in Gamboru too, we have been working around the clock to see that we get intervention from the appropriate authority. You see people are going around cleaning their houses, so we have to be going around saying them that, well, please clean this thing, remove this thing, so that to avoid any outbreak of diseases, more especially cholera and malaria. So in fact, we have been enlightening our people on that.
The flooding caused severe damage to homes, businesses and the city's infrastructure. The loss of power, the destruction of road and the collapse of bridges made relief efforts even more challenging.
On this matter, SEMA is trying to see those that lost their shelters. SEMA try to link them with the appropriate authority. Those that lost their farmland, we are also going to link them with those that will provide them with all this. But by and large, SEMA is trying to see that we coordinate all the responses to see that almost everybody got what they deserve to enable them to start up their livelihood activities.
Climate change is real. And climate change is as a result of human activities. And the flooding we experienced some weeks back is still attributed to our socio-economic activities. So now it's time for us to come together, irrespective of religion, tribe, ethnicity, education level. We have to come together and see how we can mitigate climate change and desertification before climate change and desertification mitigate us.
As the waters recede, the road to recovery remains long and difficult. The people of Maiduguri need continued support to rebuild their lives and their city. All hands must be on deck.
Indeed, together we can overcome. We must come together irrespective of our religious leanings, tribe, and fight it together. Okay, let me take some messages. Thank you for joining us. Somebody says, I'm Timothy from Abuja. We cannot keep talking about this thing. We must do something real. We must put solutions on ground and stop this talking about it, talking every year the same thing. Okay, Timothy, we hear you. Said, good morning. Thank God in Ekiti, there's no problem. From Ekiti, we don't have such a problem right now. But thank you, NTA. Oh, you're welcome. And then somebody said, good morning. The flood is a serious problem. And please do something about it. I used to be a victim. I have moved, but there are other victims. NTA, thank you. Okay, thank you so much for your messages. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
It is Week and Deal on the Nigerian Television Authority, and we're talking about the aftermath of flood disasters in Nigeria. We need to lean on what happened in the past, what's happening now, so we can prefer long-lasting solutions for the future. And that's how we talk about resilience, building resilience in Nigerians. Well, NTA has been taking a close look at that all week. How resilient ought we to be? Where are we now? NTA, please weigh into this discussion.
Many states in Nigeria are currently grappling with the effects of severe flooding. In Awka, the Anambra state capital, floods have become a significant environmental challenge. The situation has displaced some residents from their homes, while the entire community have been cut off.
During that period, this community primary school Abana help all those people living around here, mostly those people in the camp and people living in this vicinity, because they could be able to have where they can stay, and at least because most of their places are very totally covered, but here is a bit higher, so it helped them a lot.
We need more befitting holding centers so that people can have the confidence that once this natural disaster comes, they'll be able to have somewhere else to call home.
Despite efforts by the Anambra State government to address this ecological crisis, the Commissioner for Environment, Dr. Felix Odimegu, emphasized that the public education and policy development are crucial in ensuring that citizens and communities are adequately prepared for flood emergencies.
As a result of the 2022 flooding, the state government, with the collaboration of UNDP, developed a flood resilience plan, a very comprehensive plan that looks at dealing with the causes of the flooding, dealing with mitigation, dealing with recovery, dealing with how to adapt the people, and all that. It's a comprehensive resilient plan. Even though implementation of that plan requires funding, but the ones that we can do within, taking them bit by bit.
So it's not the normal rainfall that will cause this flooding. And from reports we had, the water is actually rising. That shows that very soon the flooding will be with us. They will be in another state. And once that happens, our people will relocate to the holding center. We have provided for them in the 10 local governments involved of Ayamel, Anambra East, Anambra West. There is no holding center in Anambra West because during flooding, the entire local government will be underwater. So we relocate them to Anambra East and Onitsha.
And back on massive deserting of drainages, to make sure that the drainages are free of encumbrance, so that flood water and all the storm water can have free passage towards the reasonable discharge points. And then all infrastructure or buildings or obstacles that we on the waterways are removed.
By investing in flood preparedness, educating citizens and advocating for stronger policies, resilient communities can be built in order to protect families from the devastating effects of flooding. A stitch in time saves 9.
So much NTA Oka. Our guest is still here, and so the conversation continues. Okay, so there's a story I read that actually broke my heart. There's a young lady called Halima Abubakar. She was going to go enroll. When this thing happened, she was going to quickly go enroll in the aid. You have to go write your name. And as she went to write her name, she left her 3-year-old son with her eldest child, who is 11 years, and said, let mommy go write her name so we can get AIDS. And by the time she came back, little boy Musa disappeared. And up to today, they're still looking for Musa. There are cases, and it's not only Halima, there are cases of missing persons. Is there an intervention in that area? Because I can imagine what the young housewife Halima is going through, not seeing her child. And I'm sure this kind of story is everywhere. Institutions like that. Do government go in to help people find their loved ones, or is it NGOs? What happens in situations like that?
Okay, I should go ahead.
Yes, go ahead,
okay.
Sir.
I was in Borno because of the flood, and we noticed a lot of actually missing family members. And what we usually do is once we discover a child and doesn't know where the family is, we move him to a camp and link him up with the NGOs. There are NGOs on ground that does their job to really find out where the family is, locate the family and link them up. And that's their job. That's what they have been doing there. So it's ongoing. I know it will continue to happen because there are so many kids that don't even know where their families are, and we move them to the campus at that time. Because as we are rescuing people out of the flooded areas, you realize that probably the dad, the mom, they've relocated somewhere. Well, some I'm sure probably water has even washed them away, but these are some of the things that, the trauma that, you're talking about. So much, a lot of kids have gone through a lot, but there are NGOs that are helping to link them up with their families.
What are we going to do different going forward that can be a long-lasting solution that will impact people positively when disasters such as this occur?
Thank you, Thema. I think there must be a completely shift of mindset and change in attitude to be able to deploy the best expertise in terms of preparedness, in terms of preventive measures and mitigating measures to be put in place. We cannot continue, Albert Einstein said that we cannot continue doing the same thing
and
over and over.
A different
the result. And that is why I'm saying that it's our collective responsibility, government, every stakeholders, to put our hands together and change completely and put the best expertise in terms of preventions, mitigations, and this has to do with also infrastructures development in terms of drainages that have to be put in place, the right sensitization and awareness to the citizens that please do not block these drainages, and all of that have to be put in place. Yes. And in fact, deployed enforcement officers to be able to prevent that from blocking some of our drainages. Of course, I want to say that from the NEMA, the flood in Nigeria, in Borno State have affected over 1 million population. Yeah. And they have also said that above 100,000 people were displaced. Yeah. 20,000 population are right now sitting in IDPs. So if you look at it, it's a huge problem on the government of Borno State. But thankfully, the state governor is doing a lot. And thanks to all Nigerians that have come out from all angles to donate hugely for this. For us from Borno State, it's not all about the money, but also about that intention, brotherhoodness, coming together to provide that response to Borno State. It shows that we have begun to think as one country, one people, with the same desire of living to the expectation of living a life that everybody deserves. So I want to say thank you to all that have contributed, but also call that please, we should continue to support the Borno State. The destruction is huge. A lot of infrastructures were damaged. Hospitals were damaged. In fact, including the UMTH is greatly
the teaching hospital.
The teaching hospital. And the MD, Professor Ahijo, have been doing a lot. I want to say thank you to him and all other people that have also demonstrated the capacity to respond effectively to this flood and this disaster. But if you look at it widely also, even within the Maiduguri and out of Maiduguri, even my constituency, if you go to Askira, if you go to Howell, part of it were also affected by flood. Please, I want to call on the state government to respond to the immediate affected people, but also see in a holistic manner, how can we strengthen mitigating measures even in places that it has not been impacted
yet. Okay.
And what support do they need so that we'll be able to deploy some of this support after putting a lot of attention to the main areas that were affected.
Okay.
So I want to say thank you to everyone, and thankfully also to our colleague, our leader in the House of Representatives.
Okay.
The Speaker of the 10th Assembly have mobilized all the legislators also to support the Borno State government.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you.
And of course, thank you to NTA.
Thank you to NTA.
We got to come and share all of that. We want to thank you very much for coming on Weekend Deal today. Air Commodore Kennedy, Mataluwo, Director Search and Rescue, NEMA. And of course, Honorable Dr. Medala Usman Balami, Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Communication. We thank you for weighing in on our conversation today. Please continue to do good work for Borno and for Nigerians. And still talking about flood, let's touch base with Bauchi. What's happening over there? We know you've had your own experience. How are you looking forward to preparing long-lasting solutions? Please, let us know more.
In the aftermath of the recent floods around the country, some parts of Bauchi State inclusive, families are grappling with a new threat beyond the loss of their homes and property. rising health concerns. As the flood water recedes, it leaves behind pools of stagnant water, overflowing latrines, and contaminated drinking sources, turning this disaster into a breeding ground for diseases. Stagnant water is a haven of mosquitoes, raising the risk of malaria outbreak, while poor sanitation and lack of clean drinking water have set the stage for the spread of diseases like cholera and dysentery. These waterborne diseases thrive in flood-hit regions, and with displaced families living in makeshift shelters, the danger only grows.
Most of the local latrine, toileting, all were decomposed into the water. It has entered into some cemeteries where dead bodies are there. So it has gone to expose so many things that it will give a health problem. The immediate need is those people are now living in the bush, living under leather, tarpaulin. So their houses, they are just living outside in the bush. So a lot of what they need is shelter. Their houses is vandalized, no place to sleep, no school, no hospital.
Health organizations, NGOs, and the government are stepping in to prevent a full-blown health crisis. Teams are distributing water purification tablets, medical supplies, and vaccine in affected areas, but with limited resources and the scale of destruction, the response is only beginning. The psychological toll of displacement is also taking its hold. Families who have lost everything are not just battling physical diseases, but also mental health challenges, stress, anxiety, and trauma of losing homes and loved ones. Health organizations are not only treating physical ailments, but also providing counseling and emotional support to help these families cope.
Tunda itilaƙin ruwan nan ya zo ya same mu, har ga Allah,
the water came and overpowered us. It destroyed our homes.
Ya fi ƙarfinmu, gidajen nan namu duk abubuwa ya rushe.
We lost a lot of properties, farm produce. The whole town was covered with water.
So in fact, now we are in this place that we call Geraduku, all of us. But not only Sabangani, there is some villages, people, some of them, we are here with them.
Education is key. Communities are trying to keep their surroundings clean, purify their drinking water, and prevent the spread of diseases. The battle is far from over, but with swift action and community involvement, there is hope to avert further tragedy. While recovering will take time, the resilience of the victims, combined with the support of health agencies, shows that even in the face of disaster, hope and health can be restored.
Thank you so much, NTA Bauchi, talking about health and sanitation concerns in the aftermath. I mean, it's apt because right now we have somebody who's going to further that discussion. He is an environmental health and sanitation expert, and I'm talking about Dr. Augustine Ibisike, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. So the focus here is health and sanitation. What happens? What happens after a flood? What are the health concerns that victims should look out for when there is a flood?
The first is you assuming somebody living in his house, drowning. You come out, everywhere is filled with water. Somehow you have to wade through the water to get to safety. And in some places you have to swim. If somebody doesn't know how to swim, drowning is an immediate consequence of that. Person can be drowned. Person can be carried by the water depending on the force of the water. Then injuries would arise. And if it's raining, temperature can drop suddenly. I'm not a doctor, I don't know the consequence, but what I know is that if that happens, the person will have what they call hypothermia. Drop in somebody's sudden
temperature drop in the body.
In somebody's temperature. Then You are escaping.
What can be the resultant effect of that on that person? When you have hypothermia, what ought you to do, for example?
He's not a doctor. I'm not a physician.
Okay, but you have been involved in giving expert advice?
But not in this area.
Okay.
What I mean is, hypothermia is the term I know that results. How it comes about, I don't know. I'm not a physician. Then another thing is, you are not the only one escaping. Other animals around are escaping. Rats would try to run. Snakes are running. If you have crocodile and all those things, everybody is trying to escape. So bite from those things is a possibility. And then you escape. Where are you going? All of a sudden you live in a very comfortable environment. Now you come out in a hurry, you don't have clothes, you don't have anything. That person's mental health is challenged. Children are traumatized because they haven't experienced such thing before. So, Daddy, where is our car? Where is our house? Where is our this and that? They don't understand it. So trauma. Then you move to a friend's house. They give you a small room or something. It's not the same compared to where you are coming from, depending on how long. So the psychological effect of that in the parents is one. On the children is another. Half of the questions the children will be asking, you can't answer. So that's another problem. And if you stay, after a week or so, the flood is receding, other diseases start to come up.
Oh, goodness.
Cholera outbreak is a possibility because the sanitation is impacted. Then, if you are not talking about, where would they get drinking water? So that will result. Where would they eat themselves? All the soccer ways all over the place have been flooded, and all the content.
They're bringing out all what's in there.
All the content has come out and mixed with every water. So all the water you see is suspect. In some other places, what they do is where you build schools and things like that, you design it having in mind that you may need to evacuate people or look for shelter, emergency shelter for people. So when such things happen, those places within a few hours is converted to a shelter and people can stay there. But in our own system, we have not reached that level. So looking for where to keep them is a big problem on its own. How do they get food to eat? Because if in any city, like in this Abuja, there are some places you go, traders have 20, 100, 500 bags of rice stocked from where they distribute. If these things get to such a place, by the next morning, the whole place is flooded and those things are destroyed. So food is
a very critical aspect.
Even the one you have in your house, you can't move with it because of the emergency and it's not a planned evacuation.
Dr. Augustine, when we're talking with the Air Commodore just a few minutes ago, he said that in some states, they have indeed tried to provide support system in terms of physical spaces where people can go, either before or after or during such disasters. But we do know that when they go there, it's going to be like thousands of people crammed into inadequate space, and there will also be health challenges. They may not be as devastating as the ones you are enumerating now, but we know that it's not yet to hurry over there. But oftentimes, because they've been given shelter and food is being provided and maybe a little Medicare, people tend to say, okay, these ones are doing okay, let's face something else. What should be our focus after getting them from danger, for those who survive, to safe spaces? What is the next very important thing to look at on the agenda?
The first very important things to look at, you start from their well-being. Are they well taken care of? Do they have food to eat? Are they eating good food? If that is sorted out, what of water? Drinking water is very important. Because if you don't drink one, within 2-3 days, the person could be seriously dehydrated and it has another problem of its own. Do they have that? Fine. Then, need to counsel them. There should be experts who will come to talk with them, try to counsel them. It's not the end of the world, don't worry. In 1 month, 2 weeks, everything will be okay. Try to do that. And then people would have lost some livelihoods. How are they be thinking, me, I have a house as big as this and food is not a problem. Now everything is destroyed. What am I going to do? You need to talk to them to say, this is not the end of the world. You still come back. And they accept it. That will help them to heal. If that is done. But if it's not done, some people will develop other diseases like hypertension and things like that. And then some people who have been comfortable taking care of their families, you find out overnight they can no more do that. It's a lot of psychological trauma for some men.
So.
Some of them
now become dependent
all of a sudden
for help, for sustenance.
That is a challenge. So these things, and to make matters worse, when you have this, you may not even have those experts, because everybody who is resident is looking for where to go. I know some people who left Borno are in Abuja as we speak. Assuming that person is an expert in health or whatever, to get him around you becomes a problem, because he too has left and gone somewhere very far away. So getting the required number of health experts you need on ground has to be pre-planned as you are planning other things. Making sure you have environmental experts too. All these things must be in place, because people are saying the food they eat is taken care of. Who is cooking it? How healthy are those people? Because you can also transfer illness from the food you are giving them.
If not well managed.
If not well managed. Then the environment. Children will need where to play. Even if the heavily is falling, they want to play their football. Something like that will be available. And all those things will be pre-planned. Because if not, if you go to Maiduguri last week, you cannot buy anything. Because everybody was moving out. Those whose shops were safe would also want to move to higher ground. So whatever you are looking to buy is when you see the person who is selling that you buy. But when everybody is running, it becomes a problem to buy basic things.
Indeed, it is a very chaotic. As you're talking, I'm just imagining all, especially when you said, as human beings are running, the reptiles are running.
Yes.
That is the one that is carrying me sitting here right now. And I just pray God Almighty continue to protect people.
Amen.
Tomorrow, Thelma is going to attend to most of your messages. Thank you for sending them in. We appreciate you.
Dr. ABCK, you have your final 2 words.
I said climate change is real. And it shouldn't be business as usual.
Okay.
In brotherhood we stand, Nigerians. God bless our great country. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.